In this video, I'm going to give you 5 secret tips that help me get a 6-figure salary in the finance industry, and this will help you when it comes to salary negotiations generally or dealing with job offer negotiations. If you're new to the channel, I've worked in the finance industry for over a decade, 10 plus years of experience at Goldman, Stanley and HSBC, and I've successfully interviewed at many other top investment banks, big 4 accounting firms and things like that, hedge funds, private equity firms too. So we're going to go through these 5 secret tips, right? And now number 1, you want to understand about strategy and execution and navigating the job offer. First thing is you want to understand the constraints of the company that you're negotiating with. See, you should know what's flexible for them and what's non-negotiable before you push. Try to understand the company culture to the extent you can. Even if they like you and they want to help, there might be some limitations. Large companies might have strict salary bands, but they can be more flexible on perks, right? Whereas smaller companies, they can typically have a more broader salary base in terms of what they're willing to pay based on your experience, but they won't have these massive corporate deals where they can give you some kind of perks or preferable treatments when it comes to pension schemes or life insurance or other kind of company discounts and things like that. So it could be different. You might think all the higher salaries at the big companies, but sometimes you can get a decent average salary at a big company, but it comes with all these other benefits like pension schemes, medical healthcare and things like that. But smaller companies might give you higher pay because they can't offer all the other things. So think about the constraints there. Find out what they can and can't change, and then build your requests around that. Now, you also want to be able to negotiate multiple issues simultaneously and not serially. And what do I mean by that? So what you want to do is lay out all your asks up front, right? And rank them. And what you should do is figure out what you really want and how the negotiation process can go before it gets too deep in terms of too late in the job offer negotiations, right? You can't say, oh, I just want one more thing. Can I get this? Can I get that benefit? Can I work from home 2 days a week, for example? And you ask that at the last minute. It's not going to work out too well. Try to go into it knowing what you want and knowing what they could potentially offer, right? Bring up all your concerns or considerations early on in the process. If you ask for salary first and then ask for benefits later, it might be frustrating for them. It might lead to a last minute of you dropping out or them dropping out because they can't offer you what you're requesting. So that's why you should think about all the requests you want, not only just a salary, like I say, working from home. It could be ability to get them to pay for some of your professional qualifications, and really rank what works for you, or how far the office is from where you live, right? So you might have 2 job offers and you want to prioritize your free times. You might pick an office that is closer to where you live, or maybe you're working for a big company. Sometimes these big companies, they have smaller offices located in smaller towns, for example, and they might let you work from there a few days a week to save you time on your commute. So that way you don't want to waste your time with them offering you things that you don't really care about, right? You look more serious and organized because you know what you want and you know what they could potentially offer and how to take it from there. Because you might be put on the spot where they give you ultimatums, right? Oh, we need to hear from you from this job offer within the next 24 hours. Don't let them put yourself in this situation, right? You can always shift the conversation back to problem solving. Don't say, okay, if you don't do this, if you don't give me this salary, I'm definitely out. Give them some leeway, some flexibility to offer you some other benefits, right? You don't want to deal with ultimatums. It can lead to frustrations or come across too blunt from their end or from your end, right? And you don't want to react emotionally. You just don't want to move the conversation forward to focus on what matters. And it's not the emotion, it's the money at the end of the day and the freedom you're looking for. I understand that it could be difficult at certain times, but if they're not going to negotiate on one area, you can say, oh, let's focus on this other area, right? If they can't negotiate on salary, then you can negotiate on benefits, right? And you should think about if whether an ultimatum is real. Sometimes they put you on the spot, and often they're just trying to bluff. They're trying to call your bluff, right? So you should avoid the unnecessary tension by not leading in with, oh, they said this, so I have to quickly make a decision, things like that. Really take it step by step. Don't let anyone rush you through the moment. Another thing is preparing for tough questions. Now, you should think about, oh, do you have other offers? They might ask you these questions. Do you have other job offers on the table? If we offer you a job offer today, would you accept tomorrow? When would be your start date? They put you under pressure, and you should deflect these conversations. Do you have other job offers? The easy answer there would be, I'm interviewing elsewhere, but I don't have a specific offer right now, but things are progressing elsewhere. And what you're doing in a polite way is putting a bit of pressure on the company that you're interviewing with to push forward with job interviews if they want to hire you. But you're not saying you have another job offer, because they might think, oh, well, you already have another offer, you're going to work somewhere else, so we should probably just not keep interviewing you. It just doesn't make sense. We'll just keep interviewing, focus on other candidates, because you probably just are not going to take the job that we're going to offer you. Then they might put you under pressure. Can you start next week? Can you start tomorrow? Things like that. Or would you accept a job offer tomorrow? Just say, I need some time to think about it. And you don't have to give them a specific time frame immediately. Just once they make the job offer, take some time to think it through. Stay calm, own your answer, and don't let them put you under too much time pressure, right? And think ahead. Well, if I say this, how could they react? What type of options would they give me? Because sometimes you might be in difficult positions where you have to not accept a job offer immediately, but they might give you some options. Well, would you prefer more a higher pay or a higher pension? Would you prefer this or that? And you might need to really give a bit of an idea of what you're looking for. So you think about these things. And I would say that you don't need to lie, but you can just be vague about, for example, other opportunities you have, other money you might have on the table in terms of other companies giving you a rough salary range, things like that. Don't try too hard to please and appear weak. You could lose leverage that's in that sense. And think ahead, like I said, about how you'll answer these questions and be kind of confident in that approach. You want to stay honest, stand your ground, have clear boundaries, not let them walk all over you, and don't sound weak or give away too much. And the fifth point here is really focus on the questionnaires intent, right? What is their intent here? Sometimes they'll give you tough questions and you should think about, are they just testing your interest? Why are they asking these questions? Are we your top choice for a company? It would be like, do we stand a chance for you to work with us, or you're really not, this is a backup option for you? And of course you always pretend any company you're interviewing with is your top choice and you really do want to work here, but I'd hope we'd move forward with the interview process just in case, you know, a job offer from somewhere else. I really want to push forward here and have some security that we're actually moving forward to a job offer, things like that. There's nice ways of saying that, right? But obviously you always pretend that the job you're interviewing with is the best option you have and where you want to work. So these are the type of things just to look out for. Think about their intent. Really think through how you're approaching things. You're not saying I'm entitled to this job or I've got a ton of offers, I don't really care about this job that I'm interviewing for. You're being polite, collaborative, not defensive. You're being kind of soft and playful in a sense, and not defensive, and trying to figure out their intent. If you get questions and you're a bit suspicious what the intention is, just try and think that through in the moment before you respond, right? Now, there are all types of other mind games and tricks they tend to play on you, right? So we're going to cover that finally here. Sometimes they'll say, this is our final job offer, we have a budget freeze, or we have a pay rise that we can give you later. We'll give you a pay rise next year, but you have to accept the job salary that we're currently offering you. Sometimes they're bluffing here. Sometimes there is a genuine budget freeze, right? Sometimes they're delaying things because they're interviewing other people and they don't want to see you move too. So they're like, oh, can we give you a job offer? Then they might retract that job offer. There's all type of mind games getting played. The first thing is about budget freeze. Now, this is typically one of the excuses they use. If you're trying to negotiate a pay rise compared to what they offer you of 5 to 10k extra, typically they have that in their budget. It's not a massive increase in their operational costs, so I would say you can push for it. But if you're pushing for a massive pay rise compared to what they're offering you currently, then it might be genuine that they do have a budget freeze. The other thing is when they say, oh, we can only pay you this much now, they'll give you a low ball job offer in terms of pay, and they'll say, oh, we'll make up your salary next year, you'll get a pay rise next year, right, and we'll give you a bigger bonus to make up for this low salary. Obviously they can always change their mind later, right? You might sign the job contract, start working there, and after a year, oh, business isn't doing so well, we can't give you that pay rise we discussed with you because it's not contractually agreed, right? Your best opportunity to negotiate a higher salary is when you join a company. That's why people do job hopping, moving from one company to another, because that's your strongest negotiating position. Once you're in a company, they know it's going to take time for you to find another job, so they'll just try to go, oh, sorry, business isn't going so well, so we have to give you a small bonus, can't give you a pay rise, only 2% pay rise this year, while the inflation rate is 5, 10, 30%, whatever it is these days, right? So you have to think about not cutting off all your other options, right? So if they were going to give you a pay rise, just said, I prefer to have that in writing now in part of this particular salary rather than wait a year and things could change and then I won't be getting what you're promising me just verbally now. Other thing is time pressure. Like I say, they play all these type of mind games, like a relationship or hot cold relationship. They want your answers ASAP. Sometimes they give you fast interviews one after the other to be quite pushy and overly nice and fake nice, and they want to quickly get you to sign a job offer because they think you're going to maybe accept a bad deal in terms of pay, or you're going to just think, oh, they were so nice, I'm going to go work there. But you never know, it could be a difficult job, low pay, maybe there's a high turnover for that particular job, and then all of a sudden you realize that too late, but you've gone through all these interviews, everyone's been quite friendly, you think, oh, I've quickly secured a job, it's a great opportunity, but it might not be. So you have to think these things through. Be careful about the mind games they play with you, not just with money but with time too, right? Another thing could be slow interviews. They could be cold, right? They could be doing, I went through one interview process where I had over 10 interviews over the series of several weeks. I'd have one interview, then 2 weeks would go by, another one, then an interview the week after, then 3 weeks go by, another interview. And before you, it was like several months worth of interviews. And I already had job offers on the table. I was already intending to work somewhere else where it was quite a quick process in terms of hiring me, but I thought, let me just keep interviewing here. It's a good opportunity. It sounds kind of interesting. I think it'd be higher pay too. But then it just went on forever, and in the end, I went for another job, and we lost contact with that particular company because they were just dragging it out. So why could that be? That could be because they were interviewing other candidates. They had quite a vague job description. It was more of a startup company, which I won't name now, but they weren't clear of what they wanted me to do. I'd be working with someone else in the UK. There are 2 people in the UK working in this particular department and a growing business. It's more of a finance startup. So I think the pay would be good. I think the hours would be irregular. I think that the particular dynamic, they weren't clear exactly what you need to do, but you'd be doing some work around financial licenses for doing fintech type of work. So it's kind of clear they weren't sure what I would be doing or what the company would be doing, and it's a bit of a red flag of chaos, even though the pay I think would have been quite good. So it's important to negotiate the big money before you join, right? Your leverage decreases after you join the company, so try to get the highest pay as quick as possible. So we went through some tricks they use against you. We went on focusing on the intent of some of the questions they're asking you, how to prepare for tough questions where they put you on the spot, downplaying ultimatums, realizing they've got a lot more time than they pretend they do, negotiating multiple issues at once if you can, rather than saying one last thing, I want to get this extra thing. They're not going to negotiate last minute certain extra benefits for yourself. And then understanding the constraints they have, right? What type of perks do they have? You can see with Dan Blazarian and the perks he has in his life. Now, in other videos I covered around salary negotiations, I covered some of these points. So I just want to do a speed run of these just because it's here and just on the same topic. Timing is everything in job negotiations, salary negotiations, right? You want to consider the whole deal, not just the salary, negotiating the full package in terms of flexibility, growth, and other perks, other long-term upsides, and think through timing. So manage the pace of each of the opportunities so you're not rushed, and align timelines to make informed decisions. So if you have one job offer, think about other job offers you might have on the table or interviews you might want to accelerate that process so you can leverage one job offer to get high paying jobs at another company. Negotiate with purpose, only push for what you want. No point pushing for a higher pension payout from the company if you're not really focused on that right now. Think about what you actually want. Think about then staying at the negotiating table, not pulling out too early, not pushing them too hard. Try to maintain perspective of negotiating in like a fair, polite way rather than being too pushy, because they've got tons more opportunities and maybe companies that are interviewing tons of other job candidates. So you're not the only option they have. So don't think you have all the leverage and they have none of the leverage. So then when it comes to the next couple points around maintaining frame and being present, right? You want to talk about being likable. Being likable is very important, and they will be willing to accept someone who has less skills, who has less competency for the job, based on the fact the management like you. So those are the type of things you can focus on. Sometimes just being friendly and enthusiastic in interviews and nice and positive can carry you a lot further than you think if you don't have the technical skills, because they'll like you. And then you can justify why you deserve a higher salary based on your skill level, or salary data on based on what the market rate for that particular job is. And also think about being available, right? You don't want to push them too far in the sense they don't want to negotiate. Just make it clear that you really do want to work there, but the salary is just a bit lower than expected and things like that. So this is how you can make it clear you're available. You're not just demanding things like in a rude, disrespectful way. And then last 2 points here is understanding their position, right? So adjust your approach on whether you're talking to HR or a hiring manager. You can be more pushy in a way of your skill level with the hiring manager, because they can go and demand a higher budget to hire you versus HR, who don't have a lot of leverage to expand the budget for your salary. And then think about their different priorities, right? And how that works. Of course, hiring managers want to look at your skills. HR will make sure you're professional and conducting yourself in a way that's conducive with the company culture. And then remember, they all have their own agenda, right? There could be all sorts of things going on behind the scenes. I mentioned earlier with that startup company, sometimes they have all types of internal politics. They're not sure what the exact job is. So some of these delays might have nothing to do with you. So there's no point you taking it personal and thinking, oh, they're taking advantage of me, or they're not giving me a response. clients. They have all types of internal drama that you just don't know about. And this brings me on to point 7 of a course that I have. There's a link in the description for the career code. And in lesson number 7 of the career code, which is that course, like I say, link in description, you want to think like a strategist and act like a worker. You rise through tactics, not tasks. You want to focus on timing, influence, and positioning to pursue power when it comes to job offer negotiations or any type of negotiation situation in the workplace. And this is how you can master office politics. Now, that's the course I have to offer now. But if you're looking for something supportive, more coaching, I have a 12-week coaching program to help you secure your promotions and land your dream career in a much faster way through a 12-week coaching program. There's a link in description if you want to look into that, and I'll be able to help you with that. So let me know in the comments, how do you feel about salary negotiations? Are you comfortable with that? There are 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.